Alright, so the topic for today is, well, we're still continuing from from market structures, but we're kind of going more in depth. So this objective is revenue concepts. So this is probably new, very well, I don't know if it's new. I didn't do any like fifth form subjects, so I don't know what they teach in fifth form with regards to like revenue and stuff, but it could be, I think it's new to you guys. So marginal revenue is the change in total revenue that results from a unit increase in the quantity sold. So total revenue is basically, what you would make, not profits. Just like any money that you would make is revenue, and then the marginal revenue is basically the additional. Every time you see the word marginal, you can like replace that with additional. That's what marginal means. So the additional revenue you would make from producing one additional unit of output. So say, I don't know, when I produce 1 unit of output, I make $20. When I produce 2 units of output, I make $30. My marginal revenue would be 30 minus 20 because it's the difference, the additional unit I would gain from producing between 1 and 2 units of output. Does that make sense, or is it confusing?
I get what you mean.
Okay. All right. Average revenue, I don't have a definition here, but it is basically, as it says, the average revenue is the revenue you would earn from producing each unit of output. And the formula for average revenue is basically total revenue on the quantity or on output. And total revenue is equal to the price multiplied by the quantity. And it is the revenue earned from the sale of the firm's output. So total revenue is, the formula for total revenue is price times quantity. I put an asterisk for the multiplication sign because then people get mixed up with the X. So, okay, I think cost concepts, this is module 2 that you're doing that I'm teaching module 2, but I think cost concepts is a module 1 topic, but you need to be able to know cost concepts for this. So I just have like a basic thing for costs to kind of familiarize you guys with, cost concepts. So fixed costs are costs that don't change with the quantity produced. So if you have a firm and you produce nothing, you still have to pay rent. If you produce, like a lot of things, you still have to pay the same amount of rent. It does not matter what you produce, you still have to pay that rent. So rent would be considered a fixed cost. Fixed cost is anything that you would have to pay. It does not matter what you produce, how much you produce. If you produce nothing, if you produce a lot, you still have to pay those costs. Those are called fixed costs. Variable costs now are costs that change with the quantity produced. So if you produce 1 unit of output, you probably, your cost is probably like $10. If you produce 2 units of output, your cost is 20. Just like that, that's variable cost. Total cost is your fixed cost plus variable cost. So you're adding your 2 types of costs, so your fixed cost and your variable cost. And your marginal cost, as I told you above here, every single time you see the word marginal, think of additional. So marginal cost is the additional cost you would make from producing 1 additional unit of output. So it can also be calculated using this formula, so that you change in total cost over the change in output. So the additional costs you have to incur from producing one additional unit of output. Okay, and I have like a little exercise here. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Alrighty here. This is just a table. It's pretty simple, and you're probably gonna go more in depth in costs and stuff in module 1, but just to make sure you understand costs, I have a table here so that I can work it out with you guys. So the output, as you can see, increases 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A variable cost, as we discussed earlier, is are costs that change with the quantity produced. So if when you produce 0 units of output, you have variable cost of 0. When you produce 1 unit of output, your variable cost is 10. 2 units of output, your variable cost is 17, and it just keeps going on. Now your fixed cost, as we discussed earlier, it does not change with the quantity produced. So if you're producing 0 units of output, your fixed cost is 10, because fixed cost, how much you produce does not determine your fixed cost. So even if you produce like 0 units of output, as you can see here, you still have a fixed cost of $10. And fixed cost does not change. So think of it, every time you hear a fixed cost, you can think of it, and like an example of fixed cost is rent. So you produce 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, 6 units, you're still paying the same amount of rent. So your fixed cost is still the same. And rent is not the only type of fixed cost. It's just like a very good example, so I'm like saying it here. So to fill in this part of the table, we know that fixed cost does not change, and fixed costs, so the fixed cost for all of these units of output would be 10. Do you get me so far?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. Now total cost is your variable cost plus your fixed cost. So you're adding both the types of costs. You're adding fixed costs and you're adding your your variable costs. It's just basically, as the name puts it out to be, total cost. So total cost here would be 10 here, 10 plus 0, which would be 10. Now your total cost for when you're producing 1 unit of output would be your variable cost, which is 10, plus your fixed cost, which would be 20. Over here, your variable cost for producing 2 units of output would be the variable cost for producing 2 units of output and the fixed cost for producing 2 units of output, which would be 17. And that's basically how you would work out the entire, total cost section. You just add your variable costs and your fixed costs. Now, marginal cost, as we discussed here, is the additional cost that you would incur from producing 1 additional unit of output. So when you're producing 0 units of output, you're not adding anything on, so you don't have any marginal costs. But between 0 and 1, the additional cost you incur from producing that 1 unit of output would be the additional cost, like here, would be 20 minus 10. Do you see where I'm coming from? Or you want me to go over that?
I see where you're coming from.
Okay, so your marginal cost from producing 1 unit of output would be the 20 minus the 10, which would be 10. Then your marginal cost here for producing 2 units of output, it would be the additional cost you incur when you go from 1 unit of output to 2 units of output. So the cost that you incur from producing 1 unit of output was 20. Now the cost that you incur from producing 2 units of output is 27. So your marginal cost would be the 27 minus the 20, which is 7. The same here with 3 units of output. So the additional cost you get from producing 1 additional unit of output. That's just always remember that. Marginal, think of additional. So from when we're going from 2 to 3, the cost would change from 27 to 35. So the additional amount would you would have to just basically subtract it. So 35 minus 27, and that would give you 8. And you would basically just keep doing that for, as long as, for every like space that you have to fill for marginal cost. It's just the additional cost. It's just the cost up here. Basically the difference between the two costs. So the difference between this and this is 15. The difference between 1750 would be 20. The difference between 120 and 70 would be 50. Now the average total cost. Average cost is the cost for producing each unit of output, and this is probably very familiar to you guys. The formula for average cost is just basically the total cost, because it asks for average total cost. If they ask for average variable cost, you would just do variable cost over output. But since over here they're asking for average total cost, you're going to do the total cost over output. So your total cost, you don't have anything for the top because it's 0 units of output. The only thing that you have for 0 units of output is fixed cost and total cost, because we know that fixed cost does not change with the quantity produced, and total cost is your variable cost plus your fixed cost. So you still have a total cost even though you have 0 units of output. For your total cost here, you would do total cost divided by output. So your total cost here will be 20, and your total units of output was 1. So to work this out, you're going to do basically 20 divided by 1, which would give you 20. Now, the average cost for producing 2 units of output would be total cost again, divided by output, which would be 27 divided by 2. And this gives you $13.50. And you would just keep going on and calculating it just by dividing the total cost by the output for every unit of output to calculate average total cost. And you're probably gonna learn more about this in module 1, because this isn't a module 2 topic, but you need it to understand certain things that we're gonna do. So that's why I'm just have a little exercise here. Another thing that you have to know with cost is graphs. You have to know your graphs. So basically here I have the cost on your y-axis and the output on your x-axis. And I'm not gonna do like a graph to scale. I'm just gonna do like a rough graph. 2, 3, 4, 1 minute. Alright, so we're just gonna plot. I think we're gonna plot. I don't know if you guys need to know variable cost. All right, we're gonna plot average. All right, let's talk a marginal cost first. And marginal cost, something that you would have to notice. I don't know if you guys notice, but it kind of, you see it decreases and then it just starts increasing. So it goes from 10 to 7, and then your marginal cost would start increasing. So it would go from 7 to 8 to 15 to 20 to 50. Marginal cost, decreases and then it starts increasing. So, well, I'm doing like a basic graph. I'm not doing anything to scale. So your marginal cost graph would basically look like a tick, something like that, all the time. Just do that. That's what your marginal cost graph always looks like. MC. This is your MC curve. Always looks something like a tick. It starts off kind of decreasing, and then it just increases. Then let me use a different color. Then I'm gonna plot your average total cost graph. So average total cost here, as you can see, it starts decreasing and it increases again. But it kind of, it's not like here where it starts decreasing and then it only decreases for like 2 units and then it increases. Oh, okay. It's decreasing here and then it increases by like a good set of units up here. Do you see what I'm saying, or is it confusing? Is that confusing?
Could you repeat the last part you said?
Okay. So one thing, difference between marginal cost, well, not the difference, but like how you would notice like the difference in graphs, okay? Marginal cost, it would decrease only for like a few units of output. So you can see over here, it only decreases from 10 to 7. But like from 7, it doesn't go down to like 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. It just goes straight from 7 and then it starts decreasing from, it starts increasing from 8, like a good set, and it doesn't stop increasing. However, your average total cost, it decreases for like a good set and then it starts increasing. So your average total cost graph will look more like this. It's gonna look like a U. That's usually what your average total cost graph looks like. ATC. That's what average total cost graphs look like. And this point here, at this point here, is where average total cost is at its least, like at its lowest point. So this, I'm not sure if you, I don't know if you need to know it now. Probably from module 1. You're gonna, even if you're a bit confused, this is kind of just like a little
No,
bit.
the thing is that I understand because I did CSEC economics and we touched on this, so
Oh, okay.
I
Alright, okay, that's good. I don't know whether what you're learning CSAT econ, because I never did CSAT econ, so I don't know if you learned this, but that's good then. Alright, so the lowest average total cost is where average total cost is equal to marginal cost. That's at this point. So that point is where average total cost is lowest. So if they ask where average total cost is lowest, I don't know if you need it for no though. I think that's a little too advanced. But yeah, just a good thing to know. Average total cost is lowest where MC and the ATC graph meet. It's just a basic gist of it. Alright.
operating in a perfectly competitive market. So recall from, well, we learned it last session, that firms that operate in a perfectly competitive market are price takers. So they take the price set by the market. And okay, I remember last time you were asking me, why would they not decrease their price? Because if they decrease their price, more people are going to come to them. But remember, we're always assuming that each firm in the perfectly competitive market has the same amount of buyers and the same amount of sellers. So if you decrease your price, that does not mean that a whole bunch of other people are going to come and purchase from you. Because every firm has the same amount of buyers and the same amount of sellers. It's like basically, as I say, perfect. It's a perfectly competitive market. So by you decreasing your price of your product, that's just going to give you less revenue. It's not going to benefit you in any way. And obviously we know that they were not going to increase their price. I mean, yeah. So her said, recall that firms operating in a perfectly competitive market are price takers, and they take the price set by the market. And perfectly competitive market is the only market that the firms are price takers. That's just something that you have to know. So they have no control over prices, and that's basically what I just explained here. If they set the price higher, persons will go to other firms, and there's no need to set the price lower, and therefore price is assumed to be constant. So since price is constant, we know that average revenue is equal, well, we don't know. We know that average revenue is your total revenue over your quantity. What we did up here. Average revenue is the total revenue over quantity. And since the price is set to be constant, then we know that total revenue is price times quantity, and we know that price is constant, so we can say that average revenue is equal to price. If we change the subject of formula here, so if we know that total revenue is equals to price times quantity. If we make price the subject of the formula, we know that price is total revenue on quantity. And we know that price is equal to average revenue, because this is average revenue. Actually, does that make sense? I don't know if it makes sense.
Can you go over that one more time, please?
Okay, hold on. I'm thinking if it actually makes sense. Oh, okay. Alright. We know that average revenue equals to the total revenue on quantity. Alright? Now, and we know that total revenue is equals to price times quantity. And we can change the subject of formula for this formula to equal to P equals to TR on Q. And basically this here is the same as this here. So we can basically then say that the average revenue is equal to the price.
Okay, I get that.
You sure you get it, or you want me to go over it one more time?
I mean, I think I get it. I think so.
Alright. Okay. I'll leave that drawing up there. Marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So that's one thing that we can assume in a perfectly competitive. This is all perfectly competitive market. You don't assume this for an imperfectly competitive market. So this is just all to do with perfectly competitive market. The additional revenue earned by selling one additional product will be equal to the average revenue. That's something that you assume in your perfectly competitive market. And we know that average revenue is equal to price, so therefore the marginal revenue is equal to the average revenue, which is equal to the price. They're all the same. And they're all fixed because price is fixed in a perfectly competitive market. That's one thing that you have to remember. And a good way to remember it also is because price is equal to demand. Since price is fixed, some people would say use Mr. Darp. That's how people will remember it. So it's marginal revenue is equal to demand, which equals to average revenue, which equals to price. That's just how some people would remember it. Okay.
Oh,
Alright. And this part here. Yes, please.
Can you hear me? Yeah, it's like make notes because this is my first time on getting the notes.
I can't really hear you that well.
Oh, I'm asking. Can you hear me properly now?
Yeah, a little.
So I was asking if we have to make notes or we getting the notes from you.
Make notes on.
Make notes on what we're doing, like, yeah.
You mean what I'm teaching? Right now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send you these Word documents. You could make notes if you want, but I'll send these Word documents to you. But yeah, you could make your own notes if you would like.
Alright, thanks.
No problem. Alright. And total revenue increases at a constant rate. So since price is constant, total revenue is determined by the quantity sold. So your total revenue would increase at a constant rate. So we know that price is fixed and price is equal to average revenue, which is equal to marginal revenue. And if it is fixed, it does not change. So you could produce 1 unit of output, 2 units of output, 3 units of output, 4 units. It's not going to change. So when anything is fixed, it's a straight line. So it's just gonna just a straight line. Then your total revenue, it increases at a constant rate. So you wouldn't see like any like graph like this or like that, or going like anything like that. It increases at a constant rate, so it's just a straight line like that. That's just your graphs that you have to learn for that. Should I do this exercise now? Or do you guys want to leave?
I'm fine with us doing it now.
Okay. Alrighty, so assume you're operating in a perfectly competitive market. Fill in the table below and draw a graph showing total, marginal, and average revenue. Okay, so quantity is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just the quantities I made up. And your price for producing 1 unit of output is 10. Okay, you want to take a guess as to what your price here would be?
It'd be 20.
No. Remember that in a perfectly competitive market, the price is constant.
Okay, I thought it would like go up since we're doubling it, the quantity.
Remember here, remember this graph also.
Okay.
It does not,
The one
if you produce 0 units of output, 1 unit of output, 2 units of output, 3 units of output, 4,
Okay.
your price will still be the same. So let's just assume that this is 6. If you produce 0 units of output, your price will be, your price is $6. You produce 1 unit of output, your price is $6. If you produce 2 units of output, your price is $6. 3 units. In perfectly competitive market, you literally assuming that the price is constant. Like, it's just, that's the price set by the market, is constant, it's not changing.
Okay.
Good. So what would this price be then?
It'll be 10.
And it would just keep being 10 because this is just because we're operating in a perfectly competitive market.
Okay, so that the price would be a fixed price.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the total revenue. Do you want to take a guess? What would this total revenue be?
Okay. So the total revenue, that is when we time it. So like the total revenue for the first one will be 10, and then the
Mm-hmm.
total revenue for the second one, would the second one be 20?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we just, yeah, and then 30, 40, 50.
Good. Let me just put it up here. Total revenue. It's price times quantity. All right, average revenue. What's the formula for average revenue? Do you remember?
Is it like total revenue divided by quantity?
Yeah. So what would be the total revenue here?
10.
Total revenue. Yeah. What's the next one?
10 again. Oh, all of them would be 10.
Right. Remember what we said up here. Remember Mr. Darp? Always remember Mr. Darp.
Yeah.
Your marginal revenue, your average revenue, your price is the same in a perfectly competitive market.
Okay.
And your marginal revenue, how do you figure out marginal revenue?
Marginal revenue. That's Mr. Darp average revenue price. What is that, like average revenue divided by price, or
No,
is that completely wrong?
no, marginal revenue is not average revenue. The only reason D is in Mr. Darp is because we also assume that demand is also equal to the price.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
I didn't put it in here. So Mr. Darp is just MRDAR and P.
Mm-hmm.
Marginal revenue is equal to demand, which equals to average revenue, which equals to price. Marginal revenue, remember, is the additional revenue, even if you don't know that it's 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Marginal revenue is the additional revenue you would gain from producing 1 additional unit of output. So here, marginal revenue for the first one, that. But for 2 units of output, you're changing between 1 and 2. You
Okay.
are
So.
moving from 10 to 20.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
So it'd be 10. So 20 minus 10, which would be 10. Then for 3 units of output, you're moving from 20 to 30. So that'll be 10 again. Then for 4 units of output, you're moving from 30 to 40, which would be 10. And when you're moving from 4 to 5, you're also moving from 40 to 50. and that would make the marginal revenue here to equal to 10.
Okay.
And it's gonna take some practice, but yeah, I also have like 2 videos here. Yeah, I have more videos here. So at the bottom, when I send you this, you can watch the videos to like better understand. Okay, here there's they say to draw a graph below showing total, marginal, and average revenue. Okay, remember we learned that in a perfectly competitive market, your total revenue increases at a constant rate. So you can see here, it goes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So it's always increasing by 10. It increases at a constant rate, and therefore it'll be a straight line. So total revenue would be a straight line, just like this.
And the others would be straight too, but like from the
Yeah, it would be
y-axis.
a horizontal line, right? Because it's fixed. It's always 10. So the price is 10. All of it is 10. So this would be
Okay.
price. That's also equals to your marginal revenue, which is MR. And that's equals to average revenue, which is AR. Got it?
Yeah, I get it.
Alright. Okay.